Alrighty, hello everyone. It is Austin, and I am filming this recap on June 13th. I'm filming this pretty late in the day where I'm on the West Coast right now. It is 10 o'clock, already past 10 o'clock. It's 10:15. So on the East Coast, it's already 1 a.m. So I'm filming this recap pretty late here, but I did want to get this out there. As many of you know, I have recently begun trading futures, and so I kind of want to update you on, how my experience with that is going. Obviously, I made that video the other day about my massive loss. If you haven't seen that, I'll explain the whole thing. It was my biggest loss ever, whatever. So I'm trying to kind of dig myself out of that and kind of get used to trading futures at the same time. Yeah, so I'm making these recaps to kind of show you guys, if you're not familiar with futures trading, kind of walk side by side with me on this journey, or if you are experienced with futures trading, definitely leave a comment below. I'm open to any suggestions, what you think, like what you do, what indicators you use, if any. I'm not a huge fan of indicators in general, but any kind of tips you have about futures trading. Obviously, we are in a crazy market right now. I watch futures, for the last 2 years, I've just traded equity and I've traded kind of Nasdaq and S&P 500 kind of related names, right? Like Nvidia and AMD and kind of some of these tech names, and Tesla, names that move with the market. But I thought, and so when I trade those names, I'm literally, my eyes are glued to the futures because I know that those names are going to move with what the futures are doing. Um, and so recently I kind of thought, well, why not just trade the futures straight up if I can? I looked into it, and there are good tax incentives and or not incentives, but futures trading has a different tax treatment, which they have like a 60/40 rule where 60% of the gains on your futures gains, when you trade futures, 60% of your gains are taxed at the long-term capital gains rate instead of the short-term. Versus when you trade stock or equity, 100% is taxed at the short-term rate if it's a day trade. So you save a little bit there on the taxes. So anyway, there's some reasons where I thought, okay, I kind of want to give futures trading a shot. I saw um, some other traders on YouTube, most notably Trades by Matt. I'm a big fan of his, and he only trades futures. And speaking of Trades by Matt, he uses the Tradeovate platform. And, um, you know, preferably I wouldn't want to switch platforms, but I've kind of been forced into looking for alternatives other than thinkorswim. I really do like the charting on thinkorswim, and I love like thinkorswim because I've traded on it for the last 2 to 3 years, and I'm very used to its platform and its style, and I know how it works well. But for futures, TD Ameritrade is not really a great option, I discovered. So I called today. I called their support, and I basically told them, like, look, can we do something about these commissions on the futures contracts? Because, I'm going to have higher volume than the average futures trader. A lot of people just use futures to kind of hedge their positions, whatever they're maybe entering one contract, exiting, on a longer term basis. You can see I've got more kind of trades going on here. So, um, I thought, is there any way we can get these commissions down given that I'm going to be trading higher volume? And it turns out that they will lower your commissions, but the volume that you have to trade to lower your commissions even a tiny bit is just an absurd amount. I asked him, "What's the lowest I could get my commissions down to?" And and the support guy said, "Well, I've seen him go down as far as $1." And I said, "Okay, so what kind of volume is that guy who's got the dollar commissions on futures trading on thinkorswim? How much volume is he trading, right? Because the more volume you've got, the more they're going to lower your commissions because they're making more money off you because you have high volume of trades." And they said that that person, or that kind of echelon where they give you that last break, that last commission break to $1, right? The lowest one you can get. That person is making over 1,200 round trips per month day trading futures contracts. So even with the dollar commission, 1,200 a month is or it was 12.50. So that's one on the buy side, one on the sell side, a dollar on each side. That's $2 per round trip. That's two times 12.50, which is $2,500 just in commissions that that person is paying. And they don't give you that break until you hit those marks of having enough volume, right? So if I've got, this looks like maybe, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, 6 round trips today. So 6 times 30 days, but again, not every day is a trading day. So realistically, like 6 times 20 maybe, right? So that's 120 round trips in a month. Even if it's 30, it's 180 round trips in a month. I know I'm kind of dragging on here, but get that around your head. It's not enough round trips. Not even close to, 1200 or whatever that guy's trading. So anyway, the bottom line is, look, I don't think that I will be trading futures on TOS for very much longer. I have just gone through the process of I'm going through the process of opening an account on Trade and my plan is that I will use TOS to use the charts because I'm more familiar with the charts, and I think I like my setup here, and I'm gonna keep using the charts on TOS. But when it comes to the executing and the trading, and the Trade platform is really great too. And I've been learning it today and yesterday, whatever. Um, and I've been learning it, and it's got some really cool features as well. So I can take advantage of that. And Trade is a completely free platform. You got to pay for market depth, but the platform itself is free to use. So you can use all of its, just like TOS, it's free. You can use the charting on here. I could use the charting on Trade but when it comes to executing, I can go to Trade and I can get a 79 cent on each side commission for the volume that I'm trading now, right? So TD Ameritrade is like $3. It's like $3 on either side. It's like 225 or something plus the exchange fee. I can go to Trade and get 79 cents right now, no matter how many contracts I trade. So it's just like better. So I'm thinking I will do that. And I can also get the benefits from Trade platform and all that. All right, so that aside, let me talk about the trades from today. I'll put chapters down below so that you guys can have skipped that whole part, me droning on. But let's talk about the trades that I took today now, and I'll show you guys quickly my June. So again, here's that terrible, lost day I had last Thursday where I kind of dipped my toe into futures, but I guess I didn't really dip my toe. I more jumped into the deep end without a flotation device, and I didn't know how to swim yet, so I basically just sank to the floor of the pool or to the ocean floor, and the sharks down there totally gobbled me up, and my bones floated to the top. Anyway, so I lost a lot of money last Thursday, and I had a small recovery on Friday. I did not touch any futures. I was still in Hawaii. Then today's Monday. So I had the weekend off. Came back. Today's Monday. Now, I just took one final trade on this, which was a big $725 winner. I pretty much packed up the day up about 550. And then I had this trade in the afternoon. So that's kind of one that I want to show you. But let's go chronologically. As always, if you guys are familiar with me and my recaps, I go chronologically. And let's talk about it. So today, or yeah, it was today. So I had kind of a rocky ride here, but I did catch a nice move on this off the open. So let's take a look. So I'll go to a 1 minute chart. Again, I'm still getting used to this futures trading, but I got a little too excited here off the open. And this was definitely a rocky start. There's some pretty clear levels here that I should have been trading off of, but I just got a little too excited. So immediately off the open, we were bouncing off the bottom end of this range. That's a super clear, solid bounce there. Very some excitement coming in right there at 6:30, 9:30 East Coast time, right at the open. Then again, here I got a little too excited. I wanted the short. Just this whole picture, right? This whole price action coming into the morning, this just really looks like we're gonna just melt lower, and that's been the trend of the last few days. Is these kind of melts low? I mean, melting is a little bit of a subtle word for, I mean, we've had some very big sell-offs, but we've also had these kind of melting periods of time. So I did kind of think we were going to crack the lows, but the problem is here on the morning, it can always be choppy, and of course it was when we're in between these two levels. So we bounce off this level, we test the upper end of the range. This should have been my short spot. And so this is really just where I messed up because you're going to see here in a second. This is actually where I stopped out. So this was not a good start to the day for me. You can see here I was shorting at uh, 809. So I shorted kind of near the top of this candle here, and then it just ripped up to the top end of the range. I was like, darn it, I should have waited and shorted up here. I was instantly down 10 points. Flushed back in. I was in the money a couple points briefly, and then it surged back up here, started making a new high, and I stopped out as it was doing that, and that was a mistake because we had not cracked the resistance. And so you shouldn't be getting out in front of resistance. That's just stupid. So obviously I totally messed up there. I just wanted to like cut the loss and just I think I was thinking about what happened last Thursday and just I couldn't. I don't know. I was panicking basically. Then it flushes back down, tests the bottom end of the range. Here I'm deciding to get a little more bit more patient. I had a nice. It looks like I had a decent entry here, 3802 as we bounced up here, but then a little bit of choppiness here again. I should learn to be more patient. That's kind of what I'm taking away looking back at this. These are just 1 minute candles. I really got to be more patient. This popped back up. Briefly, I was in the money about 5 points on this, which is decent, and then it came back down, and I decided to take the small winner like right here as it started to come down, and then big rip back up. I would have been in the money 10 points there, but didn't capture that. Comes back down again, testing the bottom end of this range. I'm getting long again. Decent long here, but then I'm stopping out as we start to crack below that low again. I think I had a pretty tight stop on that one. But then, of course, we whip back up here. So again, I would have been in the money. So some decent entries here, just the exits are not good. But then I finally said, then I kind of took a step back, zoomed out, and let's see what we have here. A lot of choppiness in these 5 minute candles. This is not looking bullish. All these 5 minute candles hanging out at this spot, right? There's a lot of volume being conducted in this area. I don't have my volume profile up. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of volume profile. I know Trades by Matt loves volume profile. Um, I've been using it the last couple days. I already took them off my charts because I just find it distracting, and I think I'm just not sure that it's been giving me good signals. I can see this and already have the feeling that this level's going to crack. I don't really need volume profile here, but maybe I'm just not getting it. But anyway, I did end up taking a short here. 3,800. I got short here. For a minute, it did pop back up, but luckily I had the patience to stay with this one because I realized, wick, wick, wick. It's trying to bounce, but it's not doing it. So I thought I'm gonna wait, and I think that this level is gonna crack, and then it did crack. And when it does, look at that, we get a nice move. So here I got a nice 20-point move right there, and I should have been more patient. We had about a 15-minute pullback here before another 50 point or another 30 points lower. Lower than my exit there. But my goal, and you hear other traders say this, you don't have to capture the full move, just capture part of the move, especially in a market like this where it's just there's a lot of ups and downs, and if you get in the wrong direction, man, you can get smoked. So especially with these leveraged contracts, it can be scary. So I was like, I'm taking the profit. So I was but down about 450 before this trade. Then I took this trade, and this was about $1,000 trade, put me up like 500 on the ES. Then I had some other trades on, I decided to kind of size down. So I went to the minis. Here I had some trades on the minis as we started to rip back up. I got long, 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 and then stopping out for, I think, like break even or a loss here. Then I got long here. So this is later in the day, right? We had that big sell off, and then we pushed back up. And again, here's this level right here. So I don't have it marked out on the MES, but I took a long as we broke back above this level, looking for the test here and possibly the break through that spot. I really like kind of the V-shaped recovery here. And I just thought if we break through this 3,800 level, I'm looking for a squeeze up to 3,820. That did not happen. I was in the money briefly on this before it came back down, and I ended up stopping out down here. I guess I stopped out a little bit late, but in general, I'm pretty happy with stopping out here. This was three micro contracts, so I don't love it. I just didn't want to take the size of a full mini contract, but the micro, I kind of got three contracts with the micro, so I had smaller size than smaller leverage than one mini contract, but bigger, than just one micro. So it's just a weird. This is where I'm learning about the futures really, and trying to suss it out. But I just don't know that it's worth trading these micros if you're going to take multiple contracts because of those commissions, right? So buying three and then selling three. So that's basically $3 per contract on each side. So that's $9 on one side and $9 on another. So it's basically $20 just to take this trade, right? So it's just, I don't know. I just feel I don't like that. I'm so used to the zero commissions on stock. I just don't really love paying $20 just to take a trade. So I'm not sure I'm going to be dabbling with the minis again because one mini contract is not enough leverage for me. But then if I go to three, four, five mini contracts, it just the commissions, I just can't wrap my head around it. So at that point, I'd rather just trade an ETF like SPX where I can just get zero commissions on the stock. So yeah, it just doesn't feel worth it with those commissions. But anyway, so here I had to stop out. Then on slash MNQ, I think I had a trade as well. So I had a long attempt here earlier on in this move, but this was oh no, sorry, this was a short that I added to and then quickly stopped out. I stopped out up here 36. Um, so I took like about, I don't know, I took like almost a $200 loss here as well. I was up on this short briefly, but again, with only one micro contract, I didn't end up taking profit because I was like, it's just there's not enough meat on the bone. I just want to let this run, and then of course it goes against me, and then I add, and then I stop out. So I don't know. I just don't really love the dynamic with the micro contracts. It's just, yeah, I don't know what to say about it really. If I go to Tradeovate and the commissions come down, maybe it'd be worth it. But I think what I'm going to do from now on is really just focus on one product at a time. And I'm not going to, I think so. I think tomorrow I'm just going to trade the ES. I'm just going to trade the mini ES, E-mini what wait, E-mini S&P 500 product. This is pretty much I think what I'm only going to trade tomorrow. And if I see a setup where I'm like, well, I don't want to take it with an ES contract, but I would take it with a micro contract, then you know what? I'm just gonna say that's not a good enough setup for me to take. Um, if I like it with an ES contract and with that size, and I want to be that aggressive, then that's great, and I'll do that. But I don't want to, I don't want to mess around and rack up commissions, messing around with the micro contracts because of course I lost on those trades. So it's like not only did I lose on the trades, but then I'm paying the commission. It just doesn't really sit with me. So anyway, so those are my trades on futures. And speaking about not focusing on one thing at a time, I was also trading. Look at this. I was actively trading Redbox today. I really like this. I was like, we are going to see a move to $20. I thought for most of the day this was setting up pretty nicely, and you can just see how many trades I took on this. I came away with I want to say about 350 bucks on this name. So all this trading, I think I made about 300 bucks, 350, something like that. My first trade was a $500 loser on this. I went in way too aggressively. I was trying to hit a home run. I never do this. This is so unlike me, but I definitely had that, $7,000 loss in the back of my head. I think at this point I was also possibly had just taken that loss on the ES in the morning. This was pretty early on in the morning. So I was watching this pre-market and I thought, okay, this is definitely going to be one to watch. This was one that closed, the other day or over the weekend. Had a nice day on Friday, but then it was basically trading at here 1360, and then look at this 4 a.m. I mean, it just pushes to 16 bucks and then ripping here to 18 bucks. So I knew I was going to have my eyes on this one. And I don't know. It's like I say that you forget the futures for a second. I always say like I very rarely trade small cap stocks, but more recently I have because the momentum's kind of picked up. I mean, look at this move that I keep wanting to say Roblox, but Redbox. This has had an insane move. So anyway, it dips off the open, and then I came back and looked at it later. As it started to curl up, I was like, well, I've seen this so many times before. I love this setup where a small cap sells off, and if it can, if a small cap can rally off kind of a big low like this, I mean, it just gave back 1735 at the open, hitting a low of under 15 bucks. I mean, that's a big drop, and then within minutes, it's back up at VWAP. That shows me buyers are picking this thing back up, and I just it just screams that it's not done for the day. And guess what? If it's not done for the day and the volume picks back up, odds are it's going higher, not lower. And once it's bounced back, if it's bouncing here, the target becomes 18 bucks. So anyway, there were a lot of reasons to like this. I got long here 1,000 shares. That's big size for me, and you can see I took like a I mean, what is that? That's like a $700 loss actually. So this is 1640 and I'm stopping at like 1580. So that's like a okay, so that's like a 600, a little less than $600 loss, sorry. Um, so I got long here very aggressively, and I was up on this briefly. It touched 1664, but I'll be honest, I was looking for a rip back up to that initial morning high right here at 1750. I just wanted that instant move and then possibly a rip up to, I mean, this is still early in the day, so I didn't know what kind of move this was going to have, but I thought it had potential to rip up back here very quickly. So I was looking at that move for that move to 18 bucks. Obviously, it's a bit wishful thinking to think it's going to happen that quickly, but I mean, look, it did happen pretty quickly. There's just I got kind of chopped out. This big drop. I mean, at the time that looked like a big drop. So I was like, oh my God. So I just thought, you know what? If this fails here at VWAP and it just halts going down, like I can't be a part of it. So I had to get out there. But as it picked back up right here, I realized like, all right, I'm jumping back in. So I jumped back in at 1650. Again, I was down on the position briefly. So I was down like bad on this. But then in these two candles, wham, up through 1750. All of a sudden I'm green on the name. Huge move here. But then another huge pullback candle. So definitely some choppiness here. It's hard to stay with this one. But then as it came to 18 bucks, I'm looking for a new high. Took a little bit off the table, but ultimately it pulled back. And then here I stopped out at 1680. So still winning on those last shares as this flushed back down. This came down to like 1620, 1615 there. So I drew this pennant shape, looking for the breakout here, didn't get it, so some choppiness here, giving some back. Then buying this dip here, anticipating this move, and we got it. This is exactly what I'm looking for in this type of spot. Bounce, bounce. This is classic. So then all of a sudden I'm starting to draw out this larger pennant shape, and then the rest of this is just trying to catch the breakout of that pennant of this pennant move. But this is what happens a lot of time when you come into lunchtime, and I'm starting to watch the price action here. Look at how these candles just get kind of muddy and gross, and they're just not as clean. The volume's dying down. At this point, I got out of these shares, and the only thing that was going to make me get back in is if we saw a big break upside with volume, and even then I wouldn't jump in. I'd have to wait for a pullback because this is typically what happens is you get this pennant shape, it just doesn't work out, right? The volume dies off, we're into lunchtime. It just, traders lose interest. It's if it were gonna make the move, it should have done so here, like at the latest. Um, right? It should have gone, right? It should have gone by this time already, but it didn't. I had a quick trade on EARC, I think it is. Yeah, I had a quick attempt at this right here, but this one stopped me out. I took about a $90 loss on that. That's on just 200 shares. Okay, so that was all my trading today. So again, I want to reiterate that I should have been focused on one thing. I think tomorrow I just want to trade futures if I can, if I don't, it's going to be hard. If I see a small cap going ballistic and I see a good entry on it, it's going to be very difficult for me to not take that trade. But I do think there's something to be said for just focusing on one thing at a time, right? One asset class, if you will, right? So there's futures, there's stocks. I don't think I should be trading, red box and then, jumping in and out of ES contracts, especially with the leverage and the size I was using on Redbox as well as just a single ES contract, the leverage involved there. It just, it deserves your full attention. So in hindsight, that's kind of something I'm probably tomorrow going to try to focus on, just being focused on the futures. If I'm going to try to make a switch and transition and try to trade futures, then let's devote my attention to that. You might comment and say that I should be paper trading this. You might be right, and I probably would be doing that if I didn't already have so much trading experience. I kind of have an inherent understanding for how things move, and that's not to say I can't really screw up. I've already done that, so I've lost $7,500 trading futures. So that screams go to paper trading. But I'm not going to do that because here's the deal. I already talked about that loss, but with that loss, really, when I look back at it and examine it, only part of that loss was emotionally fueled. Some of it was just I I'll say it again. Like, again, I already made the video and I already said this, but like the market was trading in this range. I bought into support and it didn't work. And yeah, I should have stopped out earlier, but like there's something to be said for like, look, I bought into support and I got unlucky with the fact that like this basically week and a half long consolidation broke against me the second I get long. And just with the leverage of the contracts, and I just wasn't used to the contracts to trading futures, and I don't know. I'm kind of just gonna for I'm trying to basically forget that that day didn't happen, or forget that that day happened. And so far, I think that today was definitely a step in the right direction. So if I show you guys one more time, the trader view, made 1,300 bucks today. So I'll show you something. The last thing I want to cover is that afternoon trade I took right here, and you can see the market is still, you know, coming up here. So I definitely wish I were still in the trade, but unfortunately I'm not. So in the afternoon, I had a quick short on this at the end of the day. This was literally just a short looking for new lows. I guess I didn't talk about this trade. So I covered here. I talked about that. And we got this bounce. I went into those other trades on the micros. And then here I took a short position toward the low of this candle. It popped back up, and then we got a nice move to the downside. I covered right here as this candle started to come back up. Then it ripped up to 60, but then it's made new lows, came down to all the way down to 37.35. So I could have gotten another 15 points out of that, but I was really just this was exactly what I was looking for, just a quick scalp basically to find new lows. So the prior low right here was literally 37.50 or something. So that was the prior low. So I was literally just looking for a crack of the lows as we come into kind of the end of the day. That's very common. Um, so as we're coming into the close, just a quick scalp to find new lows, and that's all I got out of that trade. So that was a nice little winner. Then I took a very in hindsight, I do regret this entry. This was a bad entry. Look, see how much drawdown I took on this trade. So I took this entry right here on this dip. I thought I was being patient, right? I mean, at the time, the market was literally just kind of making this move upside. And as I zoomed out, um, so this was at about let's see, it says 5:45. So that's my time. That's local time here on the West Coast. So that would be 8 o'clock, about 8:45 on the East Coast. So I took this trade. I thought I was buying a dip, and I thought that there was a good chance this would just continue. I just did not think that we'd get this much, drawdown in this trade. Um, but my idea with this trade was basically just now that we're in kind of the after hours move, I really liked this kind of retest of the lows here. The NASDAQ shows it even better. We've got this low here, so I'll kind of mark it out. So we've got these kind of lows right here at basically on the ES, it's here at 37.55 or whatever, 37.53. So it's just kind of this general area range of support. And we came down and we tested that, and then we were kind of bouncing off that level. So I decided to get long, buy a little dip, get long, and basically looking for the move to 3,800, to basically this blue line right here. And that was my idea. Basically wanting to buy this and looking for the move back up to 3,800. We did get that. It just took some drawdown. So I definitely took some heat on this trade. Down here, I was down probably at this bottom wick about 700 on the trade. But then as it grinded higher, and then we got a nice big break there, this trade ended up being over a $700 winner. I was right here up over 1,000 on the trade, and at this point I'd be up. Now it's finally hitting my blue line here. So this blue line. I set my order to sell. Here was coming up. I thought it was going to get hit. It pulled back, and then I set my stop below these wicks here, and it stopped me out as it came down. And I was really bummed because it literally stopped me out at the bottom wick. I had my stop at 37.8975 right there. I was the bottom tick. It instantly popped back up like 2 or 3 points. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. It's just going to rip up through the highs. It took a little extra pullback, but that is basically what happened. And now, of course, we're right there at my target. This was exactly where I had my sell order. So I guess it's nice to see the trade play out the way that I wanted it to. Ultimately, we did get the move and the fill back up to 3,800. So that's exactly what I was looking for. Prior resistance right here. So that's kind of the make or break spot that we're at right now. But that was my idea on that afternoon trade. So not the best entry, but I had the right idea. So anyway, still practicing, warming up, but still I got, like basically 15 points on that move. So not too shabby. All right, so this has been a longer video. I apologize for that, but I will keep you guys updated tomorrow on how I do trading. Hopefully, I can try to play it smart. I want to be a little bit more patient off the open. Maybe don't take a trade for the first like 15, 20 minutes of the day, 30 minutes of the day. Try to be patient and really play those levels, and that'll be my game plan tomorrow. Focus on pretty much just the ES unless I see something super, super tempting in small caps, which are starting to heat up. Other than that, I will pretty much just focus on futures. And then, of course, I've got in the background the, trade of eight. I'm going to be probably trading futures uh, in the near future. I'll probably be switching to that. Of course, for stocks and equity, um, I'll still trade here in TD in thinkorswim. But I'm basically just testing the waters and seeing if I can do even better trading with futures, perhaps. Pretty good with stock, but I want to try futures, and so that's what the whole point of this is. And Anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna be putting some money into Tradeovate, and I might do a little like small account challenge or whatever people like to do. So because I'm not gonna transfer my entire TD Ameritrade account to Tradeovate because yeah, basically I asked them at Tradeovate how much money I need to trade futures contracts, and not uh it's not very much. The margin requirement's pretty low. So I'm gonna put probably pretty low amount in there and see if I can kind of build it up. And that'll kind of be what I want to do. And but I'm still practicing obviously. And Yeah, so I'll let you know how it goes tomorrow. I apologize for the longer video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please guys smack the thumbs up. Hopefully some of this is helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, join the Discord. The link is in the description. I'm always in there. You can uh, ask me questions and I will get back to you. And Yeah, let me know if you guys trade futures and if you have any recommendations. And other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, bye bye.